Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. It's that time again. Another episode of True Story Live. We're excited to be here tonight. Special broadcast for you tonight. This one written by Glenn. Of course, they're all special, I'm sure, but this one is special in so many ways. If the whole write-up was horrible, but we had this title, it would be special. Pineapple on Pizza, Oracles. Yep, that's right. We're going to dig into Pineapple on Pizza Oracles tonight on True Story Live. We're excited about that. And we'll get into that right up in just a minute. And we'll talk a little bit about why it's important that this pineapple on pizza subject is coming up today, of all days. I'm excited to dig into that in more ways than one. And that'll all become clear to everyone. So appreciate your patience on that. We got a good broadcast for you tonight. Hope everyone has had a good weekend so far, and hope where you are there's not tornadoes going on. We're definitely praying for the people in Arkansas and parts of Tennessee. They had a big one happen over the weekend, and in my new job, I encountered kind of the devastation on the other end of the phone with people that actually live there and are trying to get generators because they don't have power. And I watched a YouTube video from the news on some of the devastation, and it just is amazing. And, Glenn talks a lot about having gratitude, and it's an important thing to keep in mind because one day you have a house and the next day it's all strewn across the yard and you have no house. And one of the interviews I saw was a guy that was just thanking God because he was making the point that it could have been worse. Well, I think a lot of times it could have been worse, but to talk like that and believe it, it's a beautiful thing, but being grateful for what we have. And that ties right in tonight's broadcast, the idea of pineapple on pizza, which Nez will have a strong opinion about that. And the beauty of this particular broadcast and the people on it is that you can have your own opinions. If you don't like pineapple on pizza, you don't have to like pineapple on pizza. But sometimes it's about the pizza, right? I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, so let's introduce the rest of the panel. My name is Jason Cripps. For those listening the first time, I'm the host of this wonderful broadcast, but I would not be doing it alone. I really wouldn't. I am backed by a wonderful panel, and we'll start by introducing the writer of tonight's write-up, our friend from Australia, Glenn. Glenn, take a minute to say hello to everyone.
Hi, it's 9 a.m. this week. Oh, geez. Better than 6 a.m. I have to be grateful.
Yeah.
But I saw some of those tornadoes on the news. That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
You can't even contemplate what it must be like for those poor people having to deal with that stuff.
No,
it's out of this world stuff.
One of the conversations I had, because they were calling in. So for those that don't know, for those of you that do not know, I work for Sunbelt Rentals, and they rent all kinds of construction equipment and lawnmowers and trimmers, but also big things too, like scaffolding and large diesel generators and ground cover, and all the way up to cranes that do skyscrapers. Lots and lots of different types of equipment. But I got a call Saturday morning from a guy that was in charge of, for lack of a better word, old folks home or retirement home. And he was in charge of 85 souls, and they didn't have any power. And the power company had said it could be up to 2 weeks before they have power restored. So they were looking for a diesel generator so that they, could pretend that life is normal for them. And he said that their building itself was not destroyed. So that was good. But obviously the power's out in the area. And he was explaining that it was about 1.25 miles storm as far as how wide it was.
My gosh.
And it covered 110 to 120 miles from beginning to end. And it went across parts of northern Arkansas and into Tennessee. I don't know all the details. I don't know about lives lost or anything like that. I just know that a lot of people's lives are uprooted. And this happens when there's a natural disaster, and it happens metaphorically in our lives when tornadoes come through, or tragedies, and certainly different situation if it's not an actual tornado, but still a reaction. How we react to things like that can very much say how we're going to move forward in the aftermath of something like that. So anyway, Glenn, thanks for the write-up, and I think it's perfect timing for a lot of reasons. We'll get into that in just a second. Let's hear from Nez. Nez from Marisa from the Nez Lover channel. Please take a minute to say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone. If you hear my daughter in the background, she's slowly getting to dreamland. So
okay.
She's in a good mood.
Good.
So she stays in a good mood. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. Thank you to all who may be lurking and don't participate in the chat. And thank you certainly to everyone who catches the replay. And we would very much like it if you're so inclined to please share it out on your social media. Please and thank you. Oh, I love the title of this one. Now, in Nez Studios, I have a strong and firm policy of no pineapple on pizza in Nez Studios. In fact, I have a rather large contingency of people who support me who also support pineapple pizza. And we have a nickname for those people, and we call them the hashtag Pineapple Pizza Pervert Nation. I am not a part of that,
Right.
but
Right.
I'm okay with the people. If that's what they want, that's great.
Right. Well, how magnanimous of you.
And I did eat pineapple pizza for my birthday a year ago. So I took super chats and PayPal donations to actually consume some pineapple pizza on camera for the sick entertainment of my loved ones who came to the stream. So yeah. That was.
I have to ask. So was it pineapple and pepperoni, or what were the other toppings? Was it just pineapple?
Ham. I'm pretty sure there was ham involved. Yeah.
Oh, so it's like a Hawaiian setup.
Yeah. One of my subs actually paid for me to get a pizza with the stuff on it, and I ate it on camera. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
nice.
I'm gonna have to dig back in the archive.
It was my 50th birthday celebration, not last year, the year before.
I'm gonna have to dig back in the archives just to see the look on your face.
Oh boy, yeah.
Ingesting the pineapple on pizza. That's great.
But I'm looking forward to this discussion. I totally get the meat and potatoes of it. You really just need to be happy you have pizza and not fuss so much about what's on it. I get it. So looking forward to it. Let's do it.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's hear from Jen. Jen, take a minute to say hello to everyone. And also, what's your opinion on pineapple on pizza?
First, I will say hello to everybody. Glad to be here. Glad all of you guys are here. Hello. I love pineapple on pizza. I'm a weirdo, but you know what? I embrace it. I embrace the pineapple on pizza. I am a part of the pineapple pervert pizza nation, or however it goes. I am a proud member. Take that and eat it, guys. Good to be here tonight. Looking forward to the write-up.
All right. Well, that's the introductions. Let's take a minute to say hello to everyone in the chat, and we'll try to take a minute. Anyone that comes in after the fact and say hello to them. But there's been one of the people in the chat says that they've been waiting for a couple of days since it was posted. Well, it would have been since yesterday when it was posted. But Jen, take a minute to say hello to everyone in the chat, please.
Absolutely. So we do have Lori. She's been waiting for a little bit. Hey, Lori. Glad you're here. We have Naughty Nikki. I always want to say Nikki, but there's a V at the end of that. We have our very own Nez Lover. Now, I see there's two Nez Lovers.
Nez Lover,
there's
Nez Lover.
One that has a wrench and one that doesn't.
Oh, well, the one that doesn't, well, we know what to do with that one now, don't we? It ain't me, baby. It ain't me. But I bet I know who it is.
Who is that?
Somebody who also has me blocked because I don't see them in the chat. So.
Oh, well, welcome to Nez Lover's twin-ish. And I think that's it. We also have Glenn in the chat as well. Glenn's so
Yeah.
funny. He said, I'm with Jen. I won't make pizza without pineapple. Woohoo! Go,
Woohoo!
Glenzo.
All right.
Sick, just sick. Okay, sorry.
We're sick people.
Sick, disturbed people.
Perverted Pineapple Nation, right? Okay. Well, before we get started, I will just say that I have only tried it one time, and I was visiting my cousins, Ben and Nicole, who live in Michigan. And I had never made a stand against pineapple pizza, and they happened to love it. Now, it wasn't ham and pineapple. It happened to be pepperoni and pineapple. And just to be honest, I would never order it for myself, but I had 2 slices of it. It wasn't bad. It was, I try to be a person that doesn't judge a matter before I, have looked into it. And in the case of pineapple pizza, I don't judge a matter before I've tasted it, right? But Nez, to her credit, is not one of these people that the Bible refers to as a fool. She actually tried it, and it's okay with me. Not that it's up to me, but it's okay if someone tries something and they don't like it. It's a lot better than judging something before you even tried it. But anyway, I enjoyed it. Like I said, I probably wouldn't have it again, and it's not because it was so detestable that my mouth couldn't stand it. It's just not. I don't like to mix meat with fruit. That's really what it comes down to.
That's good sense. Good talking there. Good.
I love it. This is going to be a great broadcast. You know how when you start a broadcast, you can tell right from the beginning that's what I'm feeling now. All right. Let's dig into it. Like I said, when people pop in, we'll make sure and say hello to them. And we're grateful for everyone that's here. Thank you for being a part of this. And on the Neslover thing in the chat, now I'm not able, because I'm looking through StreamYard and it doesn't show wrenches. So I'm not able to see which one it has a wrench and which one doesn't. It looks, their icons look a little different. One looks more colorful than the other. They both have color in them. But,
yeah, it's obvious the other one's a screenshot of Nez's profile picture.
Okay. Well,
here's a little tip. When somebody's trying to impersonate you and they copy your icon, the imposter's icon is a little bit smaller. So
Okay. And so they've blocked you and you can't see them.
All yes, right. If they've blocked me, I can't see them. But I can look on another channel to look at the chat and see them. So.
Okay. All right. Well, they haven't said anything horrible yet, so
give it time. All right.
Okay. We'll give it time, and they'll identify themselves for me, and I can do what I need to do. So there we go. All right. Let's get started. As I said, tonight's topic is pineapple on pizza oracles. It starts with a quote. The question of whether or not pineapple belongs on pizza is not important. What is important is you're having the pizza, and that's Help Singh. Welcome to A Change of Pace. I discovered Help Singh, Masood Boomgaard on YouTube by total accident. A great mixture of comedy and some pearls of wisdom in there too, in my opinion. What we are doing this evening is throwing some of these up for feedback on his life concepts. See what you think. A word of warning. If you're offended by bad language, you might not wish to watch. Hence the abbreviation in the write-up. BS, MoFo, F, etc. An oracle is defined by Oxford reference as, quote, a priest or priestess acting as a medium through whom advice or prophecy was sought from the gods in classical antiquity, or a place at which such advice or prophecy was sought. In extended use, the term may be used for a person or thing regarded as an infallible authority or guide on something. I'm not suggesting Singh is an oracle in definitive terms, but perhaps it highlights that each of us has something to offer the world. All we require is someone willing to take time out to listen. Great little song tonight, Oracles by Vivash Sani. Only about 20 views on YouTube, but like pineapple on pizza, is life about the pineapple or the pizza? Is it about the number of views or simply one likes music? And the link is in the description. Here's the link to Does Pineapple Belong on Pizza? It's the chocolate / vanilla / no ice cream at all scenario from last week. The overriding discussion for tonight relates to how the things we accept from ourselves and others can have a profound effect on the quality of each day we live. Because each person is so different, I leave it to Cripps to take the following where he will. Hence, there's no prepared questions. We shall ask them on the fly as they unfold. Let's get started. These clips are all around 1 minute, so nothing onerous. They are an encapsulation of some of the principles we discuss on TSL. The first video is entitled Just Chill. Before we continue, I will say that I did watch all the videos. If you haven't had a chance to watch them, please take the time to do so. They are very short, but Glenn has taken the time, as he just said, to write down what's being said. So I'll read that and we'll move forward. So this is from the video with the link in the description called Just Chill. Quote, walk away from the BS in your life. Each moment you spend dealing with unnecessary BS is a moment that has passed you by. Your time on earth is short. Stop submerging yourself in BS and start immersing yourself in the pursuit of joy and delight. Do whatever makes you happy. Play more video games, make ridiculous TikTok videos, or laugh at other people's ridiculous TikTok videos. Spend more time outdoors. Go home and play with your dogs or your many, many cats. DBS your life and live an existence that is more peaceful and joyful. And don't forget to just chill. Wow. Okay. The next one is make mistakes with the link in the description. Quote, don't beat yourself up over past mistakes. You are going to F up again in the future, quite possibly in a more spectacular fashion. Why worry about yesterday's F-ups when you have tomorrow's for F-ups to look forward to? You are an F-up, and effing up is part of your growth process. Embrace the process. I love it. The next one is let the past be the past, and the link is in the description. Quote, stop talking about your ex. Let the past be the past. Love will not seek you if you keep scaring off everyone with your negative energy and your constant need to bring up your ex in conversation at every possible moment. Release yourself of your mental shackles and stop sabotaging your love life by boring everyone with your ex stories. Shut the F up about your ex and move on with your life. That is all. Right? Next one is start living today. Link in the description. Quote, life is shit. Your life on this delicate planet will be over sooner than a celebrity marriage. Seek joy amidst the struggle of navigating a mental field of spreadsheets, PowerPoints, bad Wi-Fi, worse, relatives and under the silent treatment from unsatisfied partners. Don't overthink and hesitate on things that bring you joy. You could get hit by debris from a satellite or run over by a disgruntled self-driving car. The money that you did not spend will remain behind to be fought over by spouses, mistresses, and ungrateful children. So don't deny yourself another moment of joy and well-being. It's the least that you can do for yourself for putting up with all the BS that you do. Start living a good life today. And the last one, worry less. Link in the description. Quote, stop worrying. Stop worrying. Your words are like the safety instructions that flight attendants give before takeoff. One day, when you are about to die, you'll not remember them, and they will not matter. So don't worry. All right, and we'll leave the rest for the end. All right. Now, these videos, as I said, are not very long, and I watched all of them, and I cannot match the delivery of this guy. He's kind of hard to describe, but he seems to be of Indian descent. And he dresses a little bit like the mixture between the Maharishi and rap star to me. and kind of very laid back, and he seems very serious in what he's saying, but I get the impression that he could laugh at any minute and be totally fine with that. Very valuable, in my opinion, and it doesn't take up long in your life. Now, as Glenn mentioned, there's language involved. So I chose to lighten it up a little bit, and Glenn did me the favor of writing it like that to give me that choice. So I appreciate that. I don't have any problem using language, but I know that we have some listeners that might be offended by that. So things slip out from time to time, but there it is. All right. So I would like to just go with each little video, and I'll kind of read it again, and then I'll ask some questions. And also, by the way, since there are no prepared questions, if anyone has a question, please add them to the pile. That'd be great. Want to say hello to Celine, who popped in the chat. Welcome, Celine. We're glad that you're here. And Lori. So Lori was already here, earlier today, but this is the first comment. Oh, yeah, she's got a couple comments in there.
She did have a question she wanted you to read on the air.
Oh, let's get to that. What is an oracle? Is that the question?
Yeah.
She says, what is an oracle? I looked it up and couldn't find it, and I have no idea what it means. That's right, people. I'm going to be totally honest. I have no idea what an oracle is. Thank you, Lori. Well, you're in the right place, to be honest. I'll just pop your comment up there. It's okay. There's a song by Kansas. If you claim to be a wise man, it surely means you do not know. Right. So feel free to ask questions. I don't know if you were here for the beginning, and that's okay. So Glenn actually went to the trouble to put the definition, at least one definition, in the write-up. And I'll read that again. No problem. An oracle is defined by Oxford reference as, quote, a priest or priestess acting as a medium through whom advice or prophecy was sought from the gods in classic antiquity, or a place at which such advice or prophecy was sought. In extended use, the term may be used for a person or thing regarded as an infallible authority or guide on something. So to fill that out a little bit more, a lot of you know that I have been in a lot of plays and stage acting and things like that. And in high school, I played in a Greek tragedy. It was called Regarding Electra, and part of the storyline was consulting the muse. So in a lot of the old Greek stories, they would consult the muse if they were about to have a battle or if they had some big decision to make. And it was literally a place, I think it was in Delphi, at least in the Greek area. And it wasn't, there were other places that you could go, but in Greece, that was the main place, Delphi, that had oracle. And I think a lot of times sometimes it could be a group of people that are believed to be able to prophesy. Sometimes it was an old woman. In America, a lot of times people would go to witches for similar things and think that they would, look in their bubbling cauldron and give advice and to see things. And also the idea of the crystal ball. There's many stories throughout time of this, of consulting or trying to see into the future, or consulting someone else to get a question answered, things like that. And I'm not making any distinction. I'm not saying I believe that people can actually do that, but this is obviously a thing that has been believed throughout time. So hopefully that answers your question. I'm sure that there are other examples, but that's the one that we're using for tonight. And glad that you feel free enough to ask the question. That's great. All right. Okay. So there we go. All right. So the first video, just chill, and I'll read it again. Walk away from the BS in your life. Each moment that you spend dealing with unnecessary BS is a moment that has passed you by. Your time on earth is short. Stop submerging yourself in BS and start immersing yourself in the pursuit of joy and delight. Do whatever makes you happy. Play more video games. Make ridiculous TikTok videos. Or laugh at other people's ridiculous TikTok videos. Spend more time outdoors. Go home and play with your dogs, or your many, many cats. DBS your life and live an existence that is more peaceful and joyful. And don't forget, just chill. I was talking to Glenn last night, and we were talking in chat, and I had mentioned to him that even a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I would have been very reluctant to even use the word oracle in a write-up or on the broadcast, and certainly reluctant to, talk about, anything other than biblical prophecy, and even using Eastern mysticism or someone. The guy's not really an Eastern, in my opinion. It's not Eastern mysticism. He uses that it's that music playing in the background and stuff like that, which I found to be delightful. And it's done in good humor, in my opinion. But I would have been reluctant to do that. And the reason why is because I would have been concerned about some of our listeners who, a lot of our audience would consider themselves Christians, and within the Christian realm, they're very standoffish about anything that's not within Christianity. And part of that is Eastern religions, or anything implying Eastern religions, or anything that is denounced in the Bible. And certainly in the Old Testament, it is said not to consult mediums, or don't mess with witchcraft and magic and all of that. But I want to just make this really clear, and this is just my opinion, but these videos that Glenn shared, they have nothing to do with that. These are nuggets of truth, I believe, of just regular life. And this one ties into some things that happened today for Jen and myself. And I don't want to take everything over, so I'm gonna save the story. But I'll ask the panel, how do you feel about this quote? The idea of walking away from the BS and focusing in on joy and delight. What do you think, Naz? Do you think that's a worthy pursuit?
I think it's a wonderful pursuit. And I just think it takes some of us a lot longer than others to reach that point where we can finally say, I don't need the BS, and I can focus on the good and the happy and the positive. I know it took me a long time in a lot of ways to get to that point.
Do you feel like your life is fairly de-BS-ified?
For the most part, yes. Now, come on, life is about the BS that comes along in day-to-day experiences. If you're dealing with other people, you're going to get BS somewhere. Could be in the mail, could be on the phone, could be in person, could be online. But
could be in the car.
Could be in the car, could be anywhere. But for my own life, no, I don't have a bunch of BS going on anymore. I did, but not anymore.
That's good.
Did you make a decision to do that at one point? Did you just say you're tired of the BS and decide to move forward, or was it more gradual?
It depends on what particular BS you're talking about. When it came to toxic individuals, that was a point of just deciding to say enough,
right, and
walk away. Because the toxic people in our lives are going to continue to be so unless they either drop over dead or have a religious conversion, or they're going to still be themselves.
Right.
But you can be yourself and not be concerned with what they're up to with all of their BS.
Right.
There's enough things going on in life that you don't need to weigh yourself down with, my God, what are they up to now?
Right.
Better ask, what are you up to? What are you doing today? Yeah.
Right. Well, Jamie agrees with you pretty fervently. Amen, Marisa.
Hi, Jamie. Thank you.
Welcome, Jamie. We're glad you're here. Do you think it's a choice, Marisa? Do you think it's a choice that someone can choose not to get involved in other people's BS, or not to allow it to affect them, one or both?
I really do. Like I said earlier, there are some things that are BS that comes in life that are just that comes with living life. But as far as interacting with people who chronically deal in BS, talking BS, giving you BS, spreading BS, you really don't need. That is a choice on how much attention you give those people.
I agree. All right. What do you think that? How do you feel about TikTok videos? I mean, it's in the quote. He's saying, play more video games, make ridiculous TikTok videos, or laugh at other people's ridiculous TikTok videos. Any opinion on that?
I say no to TikTok. It's not my thing, not my bag. I find it to be a bunch of BS that I choose to say no to.
Okay. I love it.
Ditto.
I love it. What about spending time out? Are you an outdoors person, Nez?
As much as I can, yes.
What do you like about the outdoors in particular? Anything?
I find that being out in nature, God's everywhere anyway.
Sure.
But being amongst His creation, especially the flora and the fauna, I mean, God's all over that, and
Right.
it's so peaceful, and
Right.
I love that. I really do. I love being in the midst of the woods or by the river, things like that.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Nez, for
Mhm.
sharing all that with me. The last thing I'm going to ask you about, so on the more positive side, the idea of going home and playing with your dogs or many, many cats. Do you have any? Well, I know you got cats, but you don't have any dogs, do you?
I do not have any dogs at this time, but I have had dogs, previously.
Right.
But yeah, I've got my two cats, Stella and Mario,
Mhm.
and they're very spoiled,
Right.
As they should be.
as they should be. Yes.
Right. So would you say you're more a cat person than a dog person?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Lastly, how do you feel about the last sentence in this? And it's, live an existence that is more peaceful and joyful, and don't forget to just chill out. How do you feel about those words?
I think it's something we all need to work on, is just chilling out. There's so many things that happen in life that we have no knowledge of, no say so about, no control. And the only thing we can control is how we act and react.
Right. Wow, that's beautiful. Someone needs to write that down. All we have control over is how we react, or what was
We can only control how we act and react.
act and react. Thank you.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. What about you, Jen? So the first thing that he says in the video is walk away from BS in your life. What do you say about that? Is that something that would be good to follow? Walk away from BS in your life.
Run away.
Yes. Run away like you're on fire.
Right.
Now, is this talking about others or your own or both?
I watched the videos and he's talking to anyone watching.
Okay, so maybe it's
it
all
could be
encompassed to BS.
You decide whether it's your own. I mean, at one point he says, stop immersing yourself in BS. So he does reference, it could be other people's, it could be your own, it could be both.
Yeah. I'd say for me, it would have to be depending on the BS. Because when he says stop submerging yourself, I'm not exactly sure what specifically he means by that. I did not watch the video on this one. But for me, sometimes, I don't know if you would call this BS, but sometimes I have to dig a little bit into why I'm struggling in a specific area in order to move forward. I know some people believe that you should just move forward and not dig at all at what's going on.
Right.
But for me personally, there's a connection to figuring out what that's all about in order to let it go and move forward.
No, I agree.
And that's just me. So sometimes walking away from me it's not as clear cut, although I know some people might disagree.
Right.
But other people's, that depends. Well, again, it goes back to the definition of BS. Like I want to be helpful to people,
Right.
But if it's BS in the sense that it's like toxic or just out of my realm of being able to take care of, or it's affecting me or whatever, yeah, choose to walk away.
What if it's just annoying to you? What if it's not toxic necessarily to you, but what if it just annoys you? What if someone else's BS is just really annoying? Can you decide to walk away from it?
You could.
Yeah, you don't have to.
You could choose to walk away.
Right.
Now, sometimes you have situations where it might be family doing that stuff or a boss.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. That's what
and so
I'm
in
moving
that,
toward that.
Should I not say anything then?
No,
Wait
you
for you
should.
to move to. Oh, okay.
No, I'm not saying I have to talk. I mean, I will talk about it, but if you feel up to it, let's put it to the audience, because my family does not listen to this broadcast as much as I've invited them to listen. So there's no chance that they're going to hear any of the conversation. We won't mention any names, but we can talk about what happened today. Maybe people on the panel or someone in the chat has a different opinion. Maybe we're looking at it the wrong way, and it's not someone else's BS. It could be our own BS.
Yeah. And one thing I was going to add before we move on is that this is a lesson I've been learning for a really long time, is that, again, like Marisa said, we only have control over how we act and our reactions. And so I think, at least in the US, we grow up with this phrase of "you made me angry,"
Right.
or "you made me fill in the blank."
Right.
And I think it is said so much, I got to the point where I believed it.
Yeah.
But really and truly, we do have control over our feelings. And so someone can't necessarily make us angry. We're choosing to react angrily. So sometimes walking away from the BS, if it's family or a boss, and it just doesn't call for physically walking away. Sometimes walking away can just be accepting them where they're at and their annoying habits, and just not let it affect you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very layered.
Yeah. No, it is
circumstantial.
Yeah,
the BS is circumstantial.
Circumstantial, yeah. Well, I think so. My opinion is that it's your decision. You know, like, even if you didn't watch the video, he's talking to anyone that's watching it. So in that case, I'm watching it, and so to me, what I picked up on, he's saying to walk away from the BS in your life, and it could be my own, it could be other people's. The basic message I got was to focus on joy and delight in my life and what makes me happy. Now, I know there's people out there, that would say, happiness is not the most important thing. And I would agree with that. There are many other things that should be more important than just you being happy. Right. I mean, like this thing in Arkansas. I mean, obviously the idea is to be grateful for what you have. It doesn't necessarily mean that these people are happy. But like the interview that I saw, the guy was, no loss of life in his family. He lost his house. It was in shambles behind him. But he was choosing to look at the bright side of that. I think that's admirable. So he was obviously making a decision. So the idea that I got from it is, don't immerse yourself in these things. He's saying, there are other things that you can choose to do. He says your time on earth is short. Stop submerging yourself in BS and start immersing yourself in the pursuit of joy and delight. And yes, there are other things. It's not just a life where you're just, in the pursuit of happiness all the time. I'm sure people would disagree with that, but that's fine. He's just saying, do things that make you happy. Laugh. One of the things he mentions is laugh at other people's ridiculous TikTok. It doesn't have to be TikTok videos. It could be laughing at anything. And you do that all the time, Jen. You watch funny videos, and it's one of the many things I love about you. I may not find every video that you think is funny may not be the same level of hilarity to me, but I love that you do that. I'll be like brushing my teeth in the bathroom, and right before we're getting ready to go to bed, I'll hear my wife laughing from the other room, and I know what she's doing. She's watching these little shorts, funny videos, and it could be a dog.
Usually animals.
Usually animals, or people slide down a snow-covered hill, or, whatever. And I think it's a wonderful thing. They say that laughter is the best medicine, and I believe that. I mean, I've even heard stories where people were sick in the hospital and they chose to watch nothing but Three Stooges videos, and it helped them. They believed it helped them to heal faster. So to me, there's definitely a positive note in choosing to look at the brighter side of life, choosing to be grateful, living in gratitude, than allowing yourself to be immersed in BS. So the other thing he mentions, Jen, is he says spend more time outdoors. Now, I know how you feel about the outdoors, but you'd care to share that with everyone?
Yeah, I love the outdoors. It's therapy. I need to get outdoors more, like take walks and stuff out in nature. I love it. I love the sounds, the smells, the textures, the sights. It's just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
I think that's the both of us. I think that I used to spend, when my mom was alive, I know I've talked about this before, but I helped her take care of her 5 acres of land where about half of it was covered with plants and flowers and things that she literally planted in the ground.
Yeah.
And that takes upkeep. It's not just some wild garden, it's trimmed and manicured and she took care of it. And she also had stones that a lot of them had scripture verses and they had people's names on it that chose them. She had a guy locally that used to do that for her, that would carve messages into different various size rocks, about 10 inches by 10 inches or something like that. I don't know, but fairly good size rocks. And she had paths where she would set these rocks. You'd walk on the path amongst the flowers and you would come to a spot where there was a rock from my grandfather, or there was a rock from my grandmother that had a saying on it. Or it just, the whole thing is she cared about the outdoors. And when she was alive, and I would spend a lot of time helping her with the yard, and I got really tan, and I miss that. I miss being outside. And I think that over the past couple of years, we've spent more time indoors than we should. I think it's important to spend more time outdoors. And I think that we should get back to that, especially with the weather getting better and stuff. What do you think about the go home and play with your dogs or your many, many cats? Are you
talking to me?
Yeah. Are you a cat person or a dog person or both?
I love cats and dogs, but I'm partial to cats for sure. They're a little more laid back. Like, I like dogs' hyperactivity, but I tend to have a tougher time with it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of, I don't know, it sort of drains me sometimes. I'm like, I need a cat to recharge my battery. Yeah, cats, I just, they're so snuggly and soft. Dogs are soft too, and they're a little more not self-motivated. They're self-reliant. So
except we'll get to Glenn on how he feels about cats, but
except
when they're ready to
wonder if Coco's self-reliant.
Okay. Live an existence that is more peaceful and joyful. How do you feel about that? And just chill. Don't forget to just chill. Wait,
are you talking to me still?
I still am. Yeah.
It's okay. So I'm sorry. I thought you moved on. Say that again.
The last part is, and live an existence that is more peaceful and joyful. And don't forget to just chill out. How does that make you feel?
I love that. I think I take things too seriously a lot of the time.
And sometimes.
I was just going to say,
sorry.
I think it is very helpful to just chill, even if there's turmoil going on. I think there's something to be said about calming yourself down, because I have a really hard time making good decisions in the midst of like turmoil when I'm caught up in it.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying to teach myself to remember to breathe, to sit down and, I don't even know what the word is. Just chill. Chill is a great word for it. To chill out.
Right. Just relax.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to worrying about things I have no control over. There's something to be said about just taking a deep breath and chill in and come what may. Just chill out.
Agreed. Thank you, Jen. I'll let you get out of the hot seat there.
Oh, thank you.
Sure. Hello to our friend Dana, the conscious Evolution channel. We're glad that you're here. Thank you. Let's ask Glenn. What do you think, Glenn? I mean, you're the one that posted these. What do you think about this one? Do you have anything to share? I mean, I can go piece by piece, or if you have kind of a blanket statement of how the video moved you, or what would you want people to know from the video?
I think the first thing is to recognize sometimes how difficult it is to actually recognize the BS that's in your life.
Right.
Because when you're in the bubble, you so many times it can't be seen.
Right.
It's like it's invisible.
Right.
And that's the first thing. And I think sometimes it needs someone outside the bubble to lay it on you.
Wow.
Hey man, can you see what's going on here?
Yeah.
Or less politely, as sometimes people have been known to do. So it's the first thing I thought of. It's like when you're in a conversation with someone and all they want to do is talk about themselves, and you're looking at the ground and you're thinking, this is total BS. How do I get out of here?
Yeah.
Like, there's some things that just you can't take.
Right.
And there's a lot of them. And I think everybody that's answered so far has covered much of it. But in general, if you heard me use the words chill and all that before, I didn't get it from here. I realised that if I don't chill, it's going to hurt me. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
It's going to do my health in.
Yeah.
If I sit there in turmoil and under stress, I'm going to end up sick. And I don't need that.
No, I don't.
And I'm sure it does hurt you.
It does.
I mean,
it does.
And just how he speaks is how they speak in India.
Yeah.
The language is right on the money.
Yeah.
Particularly the MoFo. I hear it. I certainly don't hear it here in Australia, but you do there. That's the main word. But particularly if they're upset or with something and want to start abusing somebody. So you hear that.
Yeah. I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I think with that accent, at least the way he says it, it was comforting rather than off-putting. I mean, he wasn't angry. He was just saying it as part of what he was saying. And I think it worked for him. It wasn't offensive to me because of the delivery.
His delivery was just, he wasn't sticking it up anyone. He was just
right.
You could feel the comedic element in it. It makes you smile, but you also have to listen to what he says. That's what first I was laughing at the videos when I first heard them because they're funny to my mind. But then I thought, hey, this guy's talking sense.
Yeah, it really, and I wanted to draw it out a little bit, and so. Do you feel like, I mean, maybe you've done this in the past, I don't know, but this idea of immersing yourself in BS rather than the pursuit of joy and delight. Do you have anything to say about that?
Well, I've played the victim before.
Sure.
Sometime in the past.
Sure.
And I'd say that's heavily immersing yourself in BS.
Yeah.
Because everything that happens, you find an excuse to blame somebody else. Well, that's total BS. That's just not taking ownership.
Right.
That's stressful.
Yeah.
See, every time you live in an angry place, you live in a distressed place, you want revenge, you want retribution, and all of those things. That's incompatible with joy and delight, totally.
Right. No.
Oh yeah.
And I have found that 9 times out of 10, if you're immersing yourself in someone else's BS and you're allowing it to affect you, they've moved on. They don't care.
They've forgotten about it.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant to them. They just all they've done is just left a tornado behind them, but they're not looking backwards to see the damage it did.
Right. Neither does the tornado. That's a good point. The tornado does its thing and it moves on, and it might dissipate and go back up into the cloud where it came from, and they're done. They're not worried about the devastation they left, and neither is the human tornado when they come and make a shambles or try to make a shambles of your life, and you're left picking up the pieces. and you're immersed in the BS of debris, and the person doesn't care.
That's me, and I vote for cats.
Cats, yeah. Let's talk about cats. So he says, go home and play with your dogs or your many, many cats. I laughed at that out loud. The many, many cats, just the way he said it. I thought that was hilarious. We obviously know you have at least one cat, right? So do you consider yourself a cat person or a dog person, or a little bit of both?
To be honest, I've never had a dog. We lived on the main road when I was growing up, and every cat we had eventually got squashed.
Oh no!
So
oh gosh,
it was a very, very busy road, and didn't even have bitumen shoulders. It was dust. So we were always, the stray cats were always turning up.
Yeah.
So we didn't have any. Sandra and I. Well, Sandra had pets. She had a dog. How many did she have? She had 2 dogs and a cat when we met, but because we were traveling everywhere for months at a time, we just couldn't have any pets for way over 10, 15 years, because it was too restrictive and not fair to the animals.
Right.
It's only now that she can't go anywhere, and pretty much I can't either, that it's okay to have a cat. And Sandra loves the cat, absolutely adores him, and he's a very kind cat to her. So I mean,
oh, good.
Big tick for cats.
Yeah, gotcha. How do you feel about spending time outdoors? Is that important to you, or not as important?
Very much so. Well, I live in the country. I can't not spend time outdoors.
Right. Well,
That's
I
a good thing.
know because you've talked about it. I know you've worked a lot on the outside of the house as well as the inside, but outdoors a lot. And you shared pictures with us and stuff, so I knew that you did. Of course, avoiding the brown snakes is important, but so you're an outdoorsy type person.
Both. I'm happy wherever I am, to be honest.
Right.
But I'm out on the road nearly every morning out with the cockatoos and stuff, so
sure,
it's nice. Great.
All right. Last thing, he makes the point: live an existence that is more peaceful and joyful, and don't forget to just chill. How does that make you feel?
That's me.
Yeah.
That's it. If I feel like there's stress, okay, put it this way. If you live a life that's like that, as soon as something comes up and you feel uneasy or something's not right, you're very attuned to it. Whereas if you're immersed in it, it doesn't sort of affect you like it does when you're out of it.
Right.
So when you feel it, you say, what's going on here? It makes you sit up and take notice. I'm not saying that's I think that's a good thing.
Right.
And then you just can internalize and say, okay, what's going on here? What do I need to do?
Yeah. All right.
So I'm with it.
I think it's a much more worthy pursuit to focus on that, especially the just chill part. Okay, so we had a situation that happened today, and it goes back a couple of weeks. My sister asked me in person if we would be willing to stay at their house for, I think, 4 days and take care of 2 dogs, some rabbits. What else, Jen?
A cat, turtlefish.
Turtlefish, yeah. And it's during the work week, and I on my end, I didn't have any desire to do that, and I pretty clearly said no. The mistake I made was I said that I would ask Jen, and I gave a lot of reasons, which I didn't have to do. I believe that I should have just been able to say no and that be accepted. And this is a problem I have seen in the world where people don't accept your no. You say no and they try to talk you into it, or they might leave it alone for a while and then come back at you. Oh, come on. And she didn't do that necessarily, but what I did is I said, I don't want to do it. I gave my reasons why. And I said, but I'll ask Jen. Right. And then I come home and I got busy with, my own life and my own pursuits and my own struggles. And I did not ask Jen. And I take responsibility for that. And looking back, I should have just said no and not said that I would ask Jen. Or if I said I would ask Jen, I should have. And I held my hand up, as Glenn said, and took responsibility for that today, because there was a conversation. Also, Jen has gone over there several times since then, and my sister chose not to ask her or talk to her about it. She waited until today, right before the trip, and sent us a video message basically saying that her feelings were hurt because we didn't respond. And I get that. I'm not trying to take away anyone's feelings. She has a right to her feelings just as much as I do. And then we went over there today and we sat down and had a conversation. Both of us wanted to kind of clear the air. Jen and I had a few things to say. And the only thing I had to say was to apologize because, I try to be a man of my word. And I said that I would talk to Jen about it, and I totally blew it. I just didn't follow up on that. And so that was my fault. But I did feel like when we had our in-person conversation, I made it very clear that this was not a convenient time with me starting my new job. And even though I didn't have to, I gave a lot of reasons why. So Jen and I only have one day off, which is today. And we love doing the broadcast, and we changed the time to make it more convenient for us, which we're grateful for everyone on the panel and everyone that's coming into the chat for being willing to come an hour earlier. And that leaves more time for us because of my job. I work Saturdays, I'm off Sunday and Monday, and then Jen has to work Monday through Friday. So in this idea, here's where I tie it into the video. He's saying walk away from the BS in your life. Each moment that you spend dealing with unnecessary BS is a moment that has passed you by. Your time on earth is short. Stop submerging yourself in BS and start immersing yourself in the pursuit of joy and delight. Do whatever makes you happy. Play more video games. Make ridiculous TikTok videos or laugh at other people's ridiculous TikTok videos. Spend more time outdoors. Go home and play with your dogs or your many, many cats. DBS your life and live an existence that's more peaceful and joyful. And don't forget to just chill. So that was our plan for today, to enjoy our time together. We had planned a dinner, which we had. But because this was brought up, I felt it very challenging to not be immersed in the BS, which I thought was BS. And there were other things that were said and the way it was said that I took umbrage to. I don't feel like going into all that. I think I've made the basic point. I just am amazed the timing of this. So I watched these videos last night, and then the very next day, I have a real life example of, on the good side, I see how far I've come. That although it was difficult, I didn't let it ruin my whole day. But it was a struggle. And so I have some evidence that I have further to go. I wish that I would have handled it differently, going all the way back to the conversation, because in today's conversation, she said that I didn't say no. So I was explaining to Jen that it was a conversation we were both in, and each of us is thinking a different thing. I think I made it very, very clear, but the mistake I made was by saying, I'll talk to Jen. So took responsibility for all that, as I said. But it is someone else's BS. And the truth is, my sister is a very organized person in a lot of ways, but when she plans trips, she kind of has a tendency a lot of times to wait to the last minute, and then she's scrambling and trying to find someone to take care of all the responsibilities that she has put on herself. And I'm sorry, I don't feel responsible for her decisions. I don't. But the question is, I very much am a person that wants to do for family, but I feel like the whole thing is someone else's BS, someone else's life, some poor decision making, and they're trying to make me feel responsible for all of that, and I don't want it. and I didn't want it today. I never want it. I want to be someone that says yes to people, and I have been that person. I've talked about how I've spent a lot of my life trying to prove to my family, and they don't like that I'm done with that, I don't think. I don't feel like I have to say yes to things to prove anything anymore. And this just was a no this time. Jen, do you have anything you want to add to that from your perspective?
Yeah, I just was going to add, this is the stuff that I tend to have a really hard time not affecting me. I'm working on it, but it's because I know that I have abandonment issues, and especially, you know, Shannon and I are really close. So when I see her scrambling, I have been programmed and allowed myself, you know, in adulthood to continue that programming of feeling responsible for other people's, you know, feelings and issues and even their own consequences of choices they've made or haven't done or whatever. So my internal body just starts freaking out, and I say no, and then I'm wanting to scramble back and change my mind and say yes, just to smooth everything over. Because I'm concerned it's going to affect the relationship somehow. But I didn't do that. And I'm learning to sit in the uncomfortable feelings as I'm working on not having uncomfortable feelings. For learning how to just say no if it's not going to work for me, if it's not going to work with my schedule. I would have had to really do some gymnastics this week to make that work, and I just am not willing to do that. And it's not that I am not willing to help in areas that I can. It's just, but that's what I end up feeling. I feel selfish, you know, so it's a struggle. I'm working on it.
You know, it's what you choose to focus on. I think this is how it ties in for me with the videos. You saying don't choose to immerse yourself in BS, and that's what I felt like the struggle was today. I didn't feel at all responsible for her. I love my sister, and I want to be there for her. But there's a part of this that's, you know, Jen made a good point today. She says, why does she plan things and then try to find someone to take care of all her animals and pets? It seems like it's backwards, but she can do things the way she wants to do it. But where there's a sticking point for me is when they're trying to use manipulation tactics, in my opinion, and guilt and shame towards us to get us to a place where we agree to do it, when it clearly isn't, this particular time at least, it isn't something I wanted to do. It's just super inconvenient. And Jen made a good point. She said, you know, we want to do good things for people, and, you know, as family, you know, are there times that we do things that we don't want to do and that is uncomfortable for us for the higher ideal of helping someone out? And my answer was yes, absolutely. And I have done that. I've done things that I didn't want to do. I've picked people up, you know, late at night and done trips to the airport. And I don't have to give a whole list of everything that I've done, but sometimes, to me, at the end of the day, sometimes the answer has to be no. And I want to be around people that respect my no. That if I say no, then there's like, fine, no problem. And Jen was making the point about us. When I ask her to do something and she doesn't want to do it, she says no, and I'm totally fine with that. Now, I realize that's because we're close and we feel safe with each other. She feels safe to say no, and I feel safe enough to be okay that she says no, and vice versa. And we can't have that be what other people choose to react to that. And then lastly, about this particular story, Glenn was saying about the bubble. He was saying that, you know, sometimes we don't notice the BS around us, and sometimes it takes someone else outside the bubble to lay it on us, is the way he put it, I believe. And it's interesting that he chose that wordage, because I said to Jen when we got home, I said, when you and I are together and there's no one else involved, we get along so well, and we don't have to put up with this stuff. But unless you don't want to have relationships with people, I don't know how you shield yourself from all of that. if you're going to be in relationships with people outside of your bubble, and I'm referring to the bubble of our relationship, you open yourself up to that. And so we want to have friends. We want to have involvement with family, both her family and my family. And it just comes with it. But we do not have to decide to immerse ourselves in the BS. I think that's huge. I would much rather focus on the pursuit of joy and delight and do things that make us happy, play more video games. I also, like Nez said, I'm not a huge TikTok person. I have seen some funny ones, and I've seen some that are informative, and it's not all bad any more than YouTube is just all bad. I've mentioned spending time outdoors. I think it's very therapeutic. I would like to do more of that. I'm definitely more a dog person than a cat person, but I like watching cats be cats. I think that's wonderful. Then lastly, to live an existence that's more peaceful and joyful. I think that's important, and to just chill. Well, we got a lot of play out of that first quote, so that's good. But does anyone want to make a comment on anything I said about this situation? Does anyone have a different view of the story I told? And obviously you're hearing it only from one side, but I want to open it up if anyone has any comments they would like to make.
I will.
Oh, go ahead.
I think this situation is way harder to deal with for all of us. Any person who has that innate will and wish to help people wherever they can faces this, because I think most of us do. I mean, we'll pretty well bend over backwards. If someone is fair and reasonable and they're in a spot, we're not going to just flatly turn them down. We're going to say, look, if it's humanly possible, we'll try to work something out. That's how it works. We'll certainly work in families like that. Well, hopefully. Well, it does in mine.
Sure.
So, but my question to you guys is, part of the reason you feel you've been sort of hit with the BS, is part of the reason, are you feeling like you're being punished for the decision you made?
Yes, very much. Very much.
And that's difficult. Yeah. Yeah.
Guilty.
That's heavy. That's heavy imagery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't inspire you the next time they come along, even if they get their act together and get things coordinated and ask you 4 weeks in advance where there's a possibility you could help. You're going to say, well, look at the crap you heaped on me last time. I'm not that inclined. Yeah. It's like you're cutting off what's the saying?
Your nose to spite your face.
That's the one. Exactly. That's because it's like you feel taken for granted, and when you get taken for granted, that's the same as bullshit hitting you in the head.
Exactly.
Not good.
Well, I agree with you 100%, Glenn. I'm glad you said it like that, because, well, we don't have to worry about it anymore, because she made it very clear that she's not going to ask us again, because it appears that we don't want to help. That's the way that was phrased. We don't want to help. And then it went further to say that she feels like she does a lot of stuff for us, which I have no idea what she's talking about. And we do nothing for her. And then so the first place my mind goes, and I hate that I even do this, but this is the way I have felt in my family my whole life, is they focus on the one thing that I don't do, and they forget everything that I did do. You know, how many times have I taken care of her when it was just the one dog? They would go to Michigan for 2 weeks, and who would take care of the dog? And I love the dog, the one dog, Ray. I love that dog, and I didn't mind doing it. It was not an imposition to me. And I've done it. I've probably 20 times over the past few years, maybe not that many. I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but a lot of times. And this is the problem I have, and this is a whole nother topic, but it's like people choose not to remember the things that you do, even to the point of saying that you don't do anything. It's an eternal quantifier. And to me, that was clearly manipulation, and it was done purposefully to shame us, make us feel bad about not saying yes. I mean, I don't know how else to see it other than that.
This feels like a dummy spit, because they'd already taken for granted that you guys would do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
and I don't like that word toxic, but this is what's being heaped on you is toxic BS, in my opinion. I don't know how the others feel, but they're crazy.
It's rough.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we're left to deal with the tornado that just went through, all the debris. It affected our day, at least part of our day. And we felt a lot better, and we talked about it enough before the show started just to get the debris out of the way as much as we possibly could. But, you know, Jen shared that she loves my sister, and I love my sister too. She has some really great qualities, and she's not like this all the time. And I made the statement, I gave her the benefit of the doubt and said that she's reacting out of her own wounded place. She felt, you know, she needed someone to do this and couldn't find anyone. I mean, so I'm trying to, you know, give her the benefit of saying that, you know, I know she's a good person. It doesn't mean that she's all bad or anything like that. It just meant that there were some poor choices made today. She does do nice things for us from time to time, but you know, these aren't gifts. They're things that are done and paid back. There are things that, you know, there's a balance to it, at least in my mind. You know, to the point where, and this isn't said to make me look good or anything like that, but she said I never do anything, but just a couple of weeks ago, her husband didn't stop and get gas and ran out of gas. And they called me because it was pretty close to the house. And I went and bought a gas can and put some gas in it and took it to them and filled their tank up with a gallon of gas. And then they tried to start the car and the battery had gone dead. So I went back to the apartment and got the jumper cables and went back and gave them a jump start. So I didn't mind doing that. This is who I am as a person. I mean, they're my brother-in-law and my sister. If I could do anything to help them, even if it's an inconvenience, I'm going to try to do it. So that was not mentioned today. And me taking care of the pets, none of that was mentioned. She said, I don't do anything for them. So it just was hard. And this idea of walking away from the BS. Obviously I want to have a relationship with my sister. And today it was hard. It was hard to have a relationship with her. It was very difficult for me. And most of all,
I want to ask you a question. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, please.
I want to ask you a question. Do you feel that you set yourself up for this by not handling the initial response to her question better? I mean, could you have handled it better?
Yes.
That would have circumvented a lot of the crap that's followed.
Yeah. Yes. I should have.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I should have never said that I would talk to Jen. I wasn't going to do it. I had decided already in the conversation. I thought that I had made it clear, but she says I didn't. So I said today to her, I said, next time, I mean, obviously there's not going to be a next time because she said she's not going to ask us again, which is great for me. But I should have said, absolutely not. I'm sorry you're having this issue. I hope you're able to find someone to do this for you. But with my new job and the way things are going in the middle of the week, I need to be at home and I cannot have the extra responsibility of taking care of your pets. Maybe it wouldn't need that much explanation, but I should have been way more clear that I'm not thinking about this. I'm not going to ask Jen. If you want to ask Jen, please feel free. But for me, it's a hard pass. And I don't know how you could mistake that. If I had said it like that, I mean, it's kind of brutal, but I wouldn't be having to deal with this later if she understood that it was a no. There wouldn't be any way of missing that. Even though I felt like I was pretty clear and even giving examples of why I'm saying no. The thing that I messed myself up with is by saying at the end, but ... I'll ask Jen. And the reason I said that is because I thought maybe Jen has a different opinion. Maybe I talked to Jen and she says, yeah, we need to do this, let's help them out. And I wouldn't have wanted to do it, but because my wife has a beautiful heart and she wants to do things for other people and it has affected me in a positive way, Sometimes I might be looking at something wrong. So that's why I said that. It's not an excuse, but now I see the issue with that. I did a couple things wrong. I put Jen in a situation by not talking to her about it where she was blindsided by this today. Now, that wasn't my choice. As she pointed out, she's seen Shannon several times since she asked me, and she could have brought it up in conversation herself a number of times, and she chose not to do that. She chose to wait till today, right before they're about to go out of town, which I believe is purposeful, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, you can't run the clock out just to back someone into a corner.
Right. That's
what it felt like. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's rough. On with the show.
Nez, before we move forward, sorry, I haven't involved you much in this particular part of the conversation, but I want to open it up for you if you have anything from your side that you would like to add. Any thoughts?
Not knowing your sister/sister-in-law,
right.
And just from what I've discussed with you guys and heard from you previously, even though she may not be a full-blown narcissist, the tactics she was using, just as me as an outside observer, has red flags all over the place as being very narcissistic or having narcissistic tendencies.
Yeah.
It's very manipulative. It was purposefully done this way to use guilt and shame to manipulate you to do something they wanted, to compensate for whatever they didn't want to do or handle more responsibly.
Yeah.
I've dealt with stuff like this before, and it doesn't matter what you've done. You could have given them a blood transfusion and donated a kidney.
Wow.
In that moment, all they see is you're not filling their need for what they want. You are disobeying them. You are going against what they want. It's all about them.
Wow.
In their perspective.
Yeah.
So I don't think it even phases people who treat people this way, that other people have things to do. Other people have lives.
Yeah.
And you can love someone and still the answer can be no.
Yes.
And I think people really jump to the conclusion, particularly toxic people, particularly people with narcissistic tendencies. They take your unwillingness to meet their demand as an act of war, for lack of a better way to put it. How dare you? How dare you not do what they want you to do? They do so much for you. They could have given you $5 in a Christmas card 10 years ago, and they will say, "Oh, all the stuff I've done for you."
Right.
And I mean, really?
Right.
None of that means anything. Bottom line, the answer was no.
Yeah.
She didn't like it. She didn't get her way. So there you go. That's what you got. A great big fit.
Wow. Thank you, Nez. Thank both of you. That's very helpful. I feel a lot better because when stuff like this happens to my family, there's a part of me that asking myself the question, am I wrong here? I even said to Jen, we had our nice dinner and we're sitting together on the couch, and I said, I just have to ask, are you upset with me? And it was nothing that she said or did. It's just I knew she was upset, but I'm questioning myself. Did I do anything? I said to her, could I have handled that better? And I don't mean what happened before. I've already put my hand up to that. But today, could I have handled it better? I thought I did pretty good to not go into a rage when she was saying that I've done nothing for them and all the stuff that I feel like I've done, and it wasn't even recognized. But Nez, you made that very clear, and I agree with you. It doesn't matter what I've done. It's in that moment I'm saying no, and it's an inconvenience for them, and that's all they're able to see. And I agree. I don't think my sister is a narcissist. I think she does have tendencies because of our family of origin, and I have had to work on my own narcissistic tendencies, and they disgust me. And it's only if they disgust you does a person, in my opinion, work on it and try to be better. And I try to do that, but each person has to make a decision for themselves. whether they're going to work on that stuff or not. So thank you guys. I appreciate that. Before we move on to the next one, Dana, the Conscious Evolution channel, I put it up on the board there, said, I've had people that lay that narcissistic guilt trip kind of stuff is they would call it on me, and I just don't help them anymore. Yeah. And I understand. And sometimes you have to come to that place. And it's uncomfortable because they're family and I want to do good things for them. And then not being judgmental with the narcissistic word, it just is what it is. Yeah, I agree. Thank you for your comments. All right, we'll move forward. I appreciate everyone's comments, and I know we spent a little bit of time on that, but all right, let's move forward. Next one is make mistakes. Quote, don't beat yourself up over past mistakes. You're going to F up again in the future, quite possibly in a more spectacular fashion. Why worry about yesterday's F ups when you have tomorrow's for F ups to look forward to? You're an F up, and effing up is part of the growth process. Embrace the process. Well, there we go. Let's ask Nez first. How do you feel about this? I mean, the idea of beating yourself up. Let's start there. Have you ever beat yourself up over past mistakes, Nez? Let's start there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And particularly more so when I was growing up and having a lot of family members who were either full-blown narcissists or just had narcissistic tendencies. They brought on the guilt, they brought on the shame, they brought on you name it, to try and get you to feel bad for thinking differently, having a different point of view, having
right.
And I'm not even talking about things that are morally questionable or understandably objectionable, as far as what older adults would think a younger person in the family would say or do. I'm just saying if I was different, I experienced. If my point of view was different, so often I would get ridiculed and shamed and made fun of just because I didn't think the same way.
Yeah.
So it took me a long time to be okay with being who I am.
Yeah.
And I don't, people who've never gone through that kind of abuse, that kind of interaction with people with those kind of tendencies. I know they don't. Well, thank God there's still people out there that haven't gone through it. That's great. I don't want people to go through it. But unless you go through it, you really don't quite get how that can kind of stunt your growth emotionally if you let it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. So yeah, I had to work hard to get past that. And boy, I just wandered off the track. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah. You did good. You did good. You always do good.
Oh, thank you.
So, Nez, do you feel like you're going to F up again in the future? Quite possibly in a more spectacular fashion?
Well, one can only hope I'll live long enough to learn and make mistakes. But what I hope even more from that is that I learn from those big giant F ups. I mean, none of us perfect. We're all gonna mess up here or there, and sometimes we don't even think we're messing up. Sometimes we can mess up something for somebody else.
Yeah.
We affect people in so many ways, people we don't even consider. I'm trying to not make the same stupid mistakes over and over again is what my goal is. But as for looking forward to a future where I never mess up again, no, I'm going to keep doing that as long as I have breath in my body. Not because I want to, but because we're imperfect human beings, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
I just hope I learn from it. So.
Right. Yeah, that's what we hope for, is that we learn from it. We don't keep doing the same F ups that we did in the past. And I used to not learn from it sometimes. Then other things I did were so bad that I was like, okay, I'm not doing that particular thing again. So he says that effing up is part of your growth process. What are your opinions on that? Do you think it's part of the process, is making mistakes and learning from them?
Absolutely. In fact, this
Yeah.
is classroom earth, in my opinion. We're here to learn and grow and to make mistakes and to heal and move on and make better choices and maybe even help other people consider making
Right.
better choices, because we can't choose for other people.
No.
They have their own choices too. All we can do is share our experiences,
Right.
and people can do with it what they will.
Great point. Thank you, Nez. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Before we move on, Dana says, I think a lot of people have beat themselves up about stuff. I used to be bad at that, even telling myself things like, that's childish. Sure, you're a dork, or sure, you're a dork. I actually had a friend that was working with me on that and had me do this prayer, and I started crying, and that's when I realized what was going on. Wow. It took quite a few years of work. Thank you for sharing that. Little Mystery says that beating yourself up comes from outside you. We have to let that go. And then they also say we beat ourselves up because we were beat up. And then we wouldn't have done that to ourselves. Wow. Yeah. And then Dana agrees with you, Naz, what you just said. Earth is just a great big school. If you love the person that you have become, then you must embrace everything that you have done. Wow, that's how many times have I said that when we talk about if we had a time machine, we go back, would you change anything? And my answer has always been, I am who I am because of my F-ups and successes. The times I didn't screw up, they're all part of who I am now. And I like who I am now. I'm liking who I am now more than I ever have, in my opinion. And so they're a part of who I am. So my answer, I have spent time beating myself up for past mistakes. In fact, for a couple of decades, it felt like I was always paying for past mistakes, and some of them followed me around for quite a while. And I felt like I couldn't make new mistakes because I'm still paying for the old ones. It felt like for a while, it felt like a never-ending cycle. And yes, there's a part of me that wishes I hadn't spent so much time in that. I mean, my gosh, I get tired of talking about it. I'm sure everyone gets tired of hearing about it, but my first marriage, how long did I spend grieving that, the loss of the marriage, and woe is me, I missed my opportunity and blah, blah, blah. Of course, in retrospect, I shouldn't have spent a minute worrying about that. I shouldn't have beat myself up about anything. It wasn't even my fault. It really wasn't. I mean, I took responsibility for the things I could have done better, but it was just because I want to be a better person. It wasn't because I actually was part of why the marriage dissolved. But now looking back, I wish I would have gone dancing. When I got the separation letter, if I knew what was coming, I'd have been like, just a few more years, just a few more years. that would be my reaction to that.
Gotcha. I didn't understand that. I'm a little slow on the uptake.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, if I knew back then that I was going to meet you and that I would have this wonderful, wonderful marriage, the healing of all wounds, I would have celebrated that. So it's a lesson for me in the future. If something bad happens, God forbid, but I don't know what's coming, and I shouldn't spend time beating myself up for past mistakes. And my mistake in this situation was not observe. I observed the red flags, but I didn't heed them. I would never do that again. Hopefully, as Nez was saying, we hope we don't make the same mistakes over and over again. I'll never have to worry about that again. That particular mistake, because I have made some excellent choices, and by the grace of God, they have changed my life. My marriage to Jen and my friendship with her has just been so healing, continues to be healing every day. Even going through things like we went through today. I effed up in that situation. I did some things that I would have handled differently if I could go back in the great time machine and do it again. But that's part of learning. This world is a school, I believe, and we should learn from our mistakes. We're going to make mistakes in the future, maybe not the same ones, but it is part of the growth process, in my opinion. And I try to embrace the process myself. I just don't want to spend needless time beating myself up for things. I would rather, and I've mentioned this before, but Glenn helped me a lot with that. There's been a few key things over the years that he has said that have, for whatever reason, really got through to me, and I have embraced them, and they have helped me a lot. And that's one of them, in referring to the loss of my first marriage as
Mistake.
a mistake, an F up. You know,
Yeah.
He made that clear, and he was absolutely right. So thank you, Glenn. Jen, you're up next. Don't beat yourself up for past mistakes. Let's talk about how you feel about that. That's, of course, not something you've ever struggled with.
Beautiful. It sounds beautiful. I just like I'm thinking, have I not beaten myself up about past mistakes, or do I have a time where I didn't? So as you guys can sense, it's definitely more of the beating myself up. I'm learning. It's slow. I feel like a turtle. I'm surrounded by all these hairs, and I'm the turtle. I'm like, okay, am I getting further?
Yeah.
I will say that the one progress I can see is that the beating up of myself has been gradually shortening.
Yeah.
So it is getting better.
Yeah.
Tough row to hoe.
Yeah. There's a message in there too, Jen. You said you feel like a turtle. You know, the turtle, slow and steady, wins the race. You know, the hare can go as fast as he wants to, but in that fable, the turtle won.
I'm trying to live in reality, not fables, Crips. Just kidding.
That's great.
Getting out of the fairy tale.
I
know the point you're making, though.
Yeah, no, I know you do. The message is, however long it takes you to heal is how long it takes you to heal. But I don't see you. You know, I mean, I know there are times you wish something would heal faster, but the time it takes is the time it takes. So obviously, you know, we've talked about making mistakes in the future. So he's saying, why worry about yesterday's F-ups when you have tomorrow for F-ups to look forward to? I don't know if I agree with that. I'm not looking forward to F-ups, but what I am looking forward to is that I know that if they happen, I will learn from them, and they will help me be a more rounded person. How do you feel about that? Making mistakes in the future?
You know, I've really been embracing that idea of mistakes are a part of the journey. I've spent my life trying to avoid making mistakes.
Yeah.
And knowing that mistakes are a part of the learning process, and embracing that has made it easier and made me less afraid and anxious.
Yeah.
And made me more courageous with doing things that I have been in the past afraid to do.
Absolutely.
So It's good.
So it's part of the process. So you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Jen. We'll say hello to Ajot, who popped in the chat while we were talking. Thank you for being here. We're glad to see you. Ajot says, I've been but wanted to say hi, and much love to you all. May I ask for prayers, please? Please and thank you. Of course, Ajot. Yeah, we're always ready to pray. And also, Marisa is a prayer, and so we'll definitely pray for you. Hello also to Annette, who popped in the chat. Our friend Annette, we're glad that you're here. Hope you're doing well. Annette says, I'll put it up here. Annette says, oh, that's the wrong one. It moved up on me. Annette says, I hate screwing up. Yeah, I understand. It doesn't seem fun while you're dealing with the consequences of it. We're glad you guys came. All right, Glenn, don't beat yourself up for past mistakes. Where do you stand on this whole beating yourself up for past mistakes?
Well, I agree with what everyone said. The only thing I'm going to add is I think when you do this to yourself, all you do is attach a BS spreader to yourself, and anyone who's in close proximity is going to get splattered with it.
Wow. That should go on a coaster on the coffee table, or a coffee table.
I have the imagery in my head. I'm trying to duck.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of BS, cow shit and everything around this sheep shit. There's every kind of animal crap around here.
Right. You almost got me on that one.
Kangaroo poo.
Yeah, that's right. No, thank you.
Thanks.
He says you're going to F up again in the future, quite possibly in more spectacular fashion. Why worry about yesterday's F ups when you have tomorrow's for F ups to look forward to? Do you agree or disagree with that?
I think he was being very tongue in cheek with that remark.
Sure.
But essentially, look, if it happens, if it's to resign yourself to the fact you're going to stuff up again, and well, deal with it.
Yeah.
Embrace the process, as he said. I think he was just having a bit of a lend of us on that one, but it's true. Whether I look forward to it or not is another question. But
sure,
not too worrying, is it?
Nope. All right. Thanks, Glenn. That one was the shortest of these quotes. So we'll move on to the next one. Everyone answered on that one, right? Little Mystery said, I would love to join the panel one day. You know, we haven't had any guests in a long time, and we'll talk it over. Little Mystery. We used to have huge panels. I mean, I think the largest panel we had, was 7 or 8 people at one time. That was a little hard to manage, but having a guest on, you know, I don't know if you're a writer, but you know, a lot of times that's how Nez came on the show, is she was in the chat and made some really good comments. And I know you make good comments too all the time. You all do make good comments, and so we appreciate that. So we'll talk about, you know, we, like I said, we haven't had a guest on in a long time. If we had a topic that you were particularly interested in and wanted to weigh in, then it's a possibility. So thank you for your interest. We appreciate that. And that says, I would like to join too, but was afraid to ask. Oh my gosh. Well, my heart that you guys would even want to be a part of the broadcast. That's wonderful. So thank you. And Annette, you should know, I mean, you've done, I don't think you were on a broadcast, but we did
Discord.
Discord. We did the Discord. Yeah. So you're no stranger to having conversations and stuff. So, yeah. So I'll talk to everyone about that, about maybe we do one
Sunday and then put another.
Yeah. Like have a couple of guests on or one guest on. So again, thank you for your interest. We'll talk about that off air and see what everyone's feelings are about that. But I'm glad you guys like the show enough to want to be a part of it. That says a lot. And I've also noticed too, and I don't look at this a lot, but I get these emails occasionally that someone has subscribed. You know, for a long time we weren't doing much, and then we took a year off, and then we started doing this again. And little by little, of course, a lot of the people that subscribed initially are Nez's peeps, and we're certainly grateful for that. But then I've over the past couple of weeks, it's, oh, you got another subscriber. So little by little, I've watched it go up a little bit. And we're not necessarily, you know, trying to be a big channel or anything, but it's always nice when someone subscribes. So if you guys like what we're doing, and this isn't a shameful plea or anything, because, you know, if people come, they come, and if they don't, they don't. But if you like what we're doing here and you enjoy these conversations, if you know anyone that you think might enjoy being a part or just listening, as Nez says, lurkers, and that's a loving term, I think, then please pass it along, pass the link on to somebody, or let them know that we're here, because certainly YouTube's not going to let anyone know we're here until we reach 1,000, and who knows how long that'll take. Okay, moving on. This one's called Okay, so the first one's just chill. The next one's make mistakes. We did that one. Okay, so this one's let the past be the past. I love this one. Stop talking about your ex. Let the past be the past. Love will not seek you if you keep scaring off everybody with your negative energy and your constant need to bring up your ex in conversation at every possible moment. Release yourself of your mental shackles and stop sabotaging your love life by boring everybody with your ex stories. Shut the F up about your ex and move on with your life. That is all.
Wow. Wait, was this Glenn or the other guy?
Just a moment. I got to laugh at that one.
Why don't you go first, Nez, since you laughed at that one? Stop talking about your ex.
Oh, that's all I do. Bitch about my ex, isn't it?
No.
Please. I don't know.
I wondered when you were going to recognize it.
We could do shows just talking about my exes. You haven't heard my stories. Oh my goodness. But I understand that when you go through a traumatic experience, when you've been in a toxic relationship, particularly, anytime you go through a trauma, I think it's natural to want to talk about it, to relate your experience to other people, not just to get sympathy, which is still nice, but to maybe reach out to somebody who else has been in a similar situation and has survived it. Some of the narcissistic abuse channels I go to, it's nice just to go amongst people where their only thing in common is they're all survivors of narcissistic abuse. And I think there's a lot of good therapy that comes from bringing up your experiences in that kind of setting.
Yeah.
But I don't see the value in going on and picking a scab that's never going to make the wound heal. Like I said earlier, the toxic people, unless they have a religious conversion or they drop over dead, they will continue to be who they are today. And you can either spin your wheels in the mud over them, or you can finally say enough and start moving forward with your life and finding anything else to do. And the more positive things to find to do, the better.
Right.
And one other thing they bring up in some of the channels I go to is that the best revenge and the best medicine to get over these toxic relationships is to just move forward and live the best life you can. Be the best form of you, not afraid to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And not concerned with what negative people have to say. Just get up and keep going.
Right.
So I've been there. I've had moments where I've gone on about certain people and certain things, certainly. But where I'm at right now, I can't see that I'm in that particular place. I've got other things going on. I got other BS going on. I don't have that particular BS going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we've all been around people that talk about their ex all the time. And I think it can be negative. I mean, you see this in shows, TV shows, movies all the time, where someone's on a date with a new person for the first time and they just talk about their ex. And yeah, I can't imagine a greater way to ruin the mood than for you to be on a date with someone new and talking about your ex.
Exactly. I agree with you there. And I think some people just do it because they're that hurt and are still hurting. Other people, you've got your people with narcissistic tendencies who just want the attention. The narcissist will make up all these things and all these stories just to get attention from telling ex stories. You could have been the nicest person to your ex. To the narcissist, they're going to tell the next person you were the Wicked Witch of the West and just the worst person in the world.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you, Nez. I appreciate that. So I'll go next, and I'll just say that, I've talked a lot about my ex. Now I feel like there's been a purpose for it, but I'm asking myself the question: when does that end? When do you stop talking about it, even if it's for learning lessons? Or we do this broadcast, and I think if we didn't do the broadcast, it would never come up. Jen and I talk about our exes sometimes for that reason. It's not because we're hurt, or it's not, to badmouth them or anything. I mean, neither of us do that at all. And I don't see it as the same way he's talking about. It's not a negative energy, but I'm really asking myself the question: is it harmful? Even if your reasons for it are for other people's healing and to express, that's the way I see it. When I talk about it, it's like, here's where I made a mistake and this is what I've learned from it. there's a purpose for it. And I haven't felt any negative about it before. And certainly with when Jen talks about her ex, it's for the purpose of healing from it. I don't know how else you would be able to do that if you're without talking about it. And we both come a long way. We used to call her ex fake name because he made up a name instead of using his real name. And I just found that hilarious. And so I came up with that. It's not super clever or anything, but I called him fake name because his last name and the name that was given to Jen, unfortunately, for a brief period of time, was a made up name. So fake name, you get it. Well, we have humanized him more recently. And because I'm realizing that he's a person, as much as I don't like the way he treated Jen and the damage that he caused, and there was plenty of it. I think both of us are at the place, especially Jen, and she can speak for herself, but the place where we're trying to see him as a flawed person who very much did not know how to love her, does not know how to love himself. And both of us have grown and changed as people, and we're trying to be more loving. And that doesn't mean we invite him over for dinner, but if we are going to mention him or mention my ex, it should be in a loving way. And that's what we're trying. But I'll leave it open to the chat, whether the way that I talk about my ex is helpful or negative in some way based on, does it matter what the reason is? What do you think? Jen, what do you think? Why don't you go next? How do you feel about this? Stop talking about your ex. Let the past be the past.
I have mixed feelings.
Okay.
I think if somebody is bashing and complaining and just ruminating and it's not headed anywhere good, I think
Right.
that's being stuck in the past, and you're obviously not over it, and you reek of it, when you get to that point.
Right.
And you are going to scare off people that could be friends, could be a partner, female or male.
Right.
But yeah, I agree with what you just mentioned about, sometimes there's talking about it, talking through it, to heal, but not gossiping. You're not doing it to pick fun or. Does that make sense? Like the negative side of that.
No, that makes sense.
So,
do you have more to say, Jen, or is that?
No, that's about it. Simple.
I can't wait to hear what Glenn has to say, because I do feel like with anyone, even if the reasons are good, there comes a point where, you might be spending too much time. When is it that you're not letting the past be the past and moving forward? Now, I do feel like we have moved forward. It's not holding us back. There's a reason for it, but I just wonder what Glenn thinks about that, as the way I referred to it. But before I ask him, Little Mystery says some interesting things. Basically, when you obsess over why I'm not being judgy, I get that. I compare so much of my life experiences to exes. Yes, lesson comparing is healthy. Obsessing about the relationship I meant, which no one here is doing. Sorry, no, you're fine. Some of these people send us off to massive life lessons, and that is relative. And then thank you, Little Mystery, for sharing. And then Naughty Nikki says, I talk about the past way too much. I need to learn how to not be stuck. That's often for me. And you said something else I wanted to mention. Nikki says, I'm feeling bad because I told someone that I thought was my friend that I felt she wasn't a very good friend because she never sticks up for me when I'm being bullied. Well, that may be a different topic for another show, Nikki, but I just wanted to address it real quick. I understand. I mean, sometimes we have friends that we feel like should stick up for us when we're being bullied, and for whatever reason, they're not able to. I mean, the hope would be you learn to stick up for yourself. I mean, that's, hopefully that's what you're moving toward. but yeah, we want to have friends that stick up for us. So I certainly get that. And as far as talking too much about the past way too much, I mean, you're saying that. That's kind of what we're discussing. Where's the line where we're talking too much, where it's keeping us stuck rather than moving forward? And you say, I need to learn how to not be stuck. That's often for me. Yeah. And it's good that you're looking at that, because none of us wants to be stuck. We don't want to stay in the same place. So I definitely encourage you to continue to look at that, and hopefully you'll be able to move forward. What do you think, Glenn? Stop talking about your ex. Let the past be the past. What do you say?
I think sometimes it's basically impossible not to, because circumstances come up, you make a comment. But I think what needs to be embedded here is respect.
Right.
If you can't speak about your ex, particularly in public, shut up.
Right.
Like, you can't speak in a positive way about them, or a respectful way, or find the things that you've actually taken from the relationship that have been good for you. Look, not every relationship's 100% bad.
Right.
Learn your lessons in private, but keep your mouth shut in public. If you're going to denigrate someone, it does no good. And I always think, what if your children are listening to what you say? How would your kids feel if they heard you speak about your ex-partner like this?
Right.
I think for some children it will be like a knife in the heart.
Yeah.
And who would want to do that? Who would want to? It's horrific, I think. The thought that you could do that. So be respectful.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. I think it can be too much, and that's in referring to talking about Jen's ex. I think it's good that I mean, we're both did it, but stop calling him fake name, and it's being respectful, even though there's a part of me that sometimes feels like when I see Jen going through something that he helped cause, in her healing, it has been difficult. Someone that loves her and hears the stories and stuff. Sometimes it's been hard for me. Been hard for me not to go around and punch him in the nose, and I've joked about doing that, and that's been a while ago now. I'm at the point now where I hope that I hope both of our exes get to be in a relationship that is healing as much as this one is for us. I really do hope that for them. We're really getting to a place where we're trying to be graceful for our exes and things like that. So I appreciate your comments, Glenn. That was really good. Okay. Everyone answered that one, I think. Okay, last one, guys. This one, start living today. Start living today. Life is shit. Your life on this delicate planet will be over sooner than a celebrity marriage. Seek joy amidst the struggling of navigating a mental minefield of spreadsheets, PowerPoints, bad Wi-Fi. Worse, relatives and under the silent treatment from unsatisfied partners. Don't overthink and hesitate on things that bring you joy. You could get hit by debris from a satellite or run over by a disgruntled self-driving car. I laughed out loud at that one, the disgruntled self-driving car. The money that you did not spend will remain behind to be fought over by spouses, mistresses, and ungrateful children. So don't deny yourself another moment of joy and well-being. It's the least that you can do for yourself for putting up with all the BS that you do. Start living a good life today. Wonderful. We'll start with Glenn. Life is shit. Do you feel he's right? Is life shit, Glenn?
No. In the context of what he's saying, I can see what he is saying, but I do not consider that life is necessarily shit. I'm sure some people have a shit life.
Right.
That's for sure. I mean, that's pretty easy to find people are in that situation.
Right.
But in general, with the comment,
yeah,
I think just it comes back to that simple thing that we've discussed: is find joy in the moment. Just because you're sitting in front of a computer with a headset on and on TSL, find the joy in it.
Yeah.
Don't be, it's so easy to take the other view. Oh, boring or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
it's so easy. Like I was having this chat with someone the other day, and I was saying, we were saying, it's so easy to be negative about everything. Always be on a downhill. Lift yourself up. You're still breathing. You still feel okay. You can have a pineapple or pizza for dinner if you want, or no pineapple. Who cares?
Yeah.
But like, there's a lot to be said for just being able to, like Singh says in his other videos, do nothing. That's all. That's pretty good if you can do that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's not a shit life, in my opinion.
No. Thank you, Glenn. Go ahead, please.
That was all. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I like what he says. Seek joy amidst the struggling of navigating a mental minefield of spreadsheets, PowerPoints, and bad Wi-Fi. I'm a lot better at this than I was in the past. There have been jobs I've had that I've hated, and it's funny. Glenn mentions headset. He was talking about TSL, but I have had, the work from home, the TurboTax, and the working for Giro and all of that, and working from home and being on the quote unquote phone over the internet and dealing with in many cases disgruntled people that hate that they have to pay taxes or they hate that they're stuck on the side of the road. And I do enjoy the part that's helping them. They're in a bad spot, and in any way I can help, I get enjoyment out of that. But it can be frustrating. And, work is work, and it's a necessary thing if you want to keep the lights on and have a place to live and not live under a bridge. But even living under a bridge you have to eat, you have to do certain things. So either way, money is necessary in the world that we live in. So if you're going to have to do it, the idea of getting as much good out of it as you can and try to look at the bright side is important. And I like that a lot of the focus here on TSL, especially in recent broadcasts, is, finding gratitude, finding something about your life that's good. Jen mentioned earlier, how often do we spend time? We don't want to be stuck. We don't want to be just looking at the bad things. We all go through hard things. There's no doubt about that. But I have gotten a lot more enjoyment out of being grateful and trying to find gratitude. And certainly I have a lot to be grateful for, especially in my current situation. And yes, a lot of it has to do with being very excited and happy in my marriage. But it's not just that I'm happy because of that. I'm happy in that, but I'm happy about how I'm growing and changing. And a job is a job, and I find as much enjoyment out of that. Sometimes it's boring, and sometimes it's, especially Saturdays. Saturday's the toughest day, and sometimes it gets frustrating. But we can all find a way to, in dealing with amid the struggling of navigating a mental minefield of whatever it is, whatever your job is, and whatever your relationships are like, of finding the joy, find the things that do bring you joy, and put time and effort into that. I think it's super important. I like that he says, the money that you did not spend will remain behind to be fought over by other people. I'm not worried about that part. I don't know how much money is going to be left over. We're just happy right now to be able to pay our bills, and who knows what's going to happen later, but I'm not as worried about that. But I like the way he ends it. Start living a good life today. I think that's beautiful. Jen, life is shit. What do you think?
Not at all. I think someone who, like Glenn said, there are some people that have a shit life, but it is a gift. I think that's all I have to say.
Oh, okay.
It's a gift. It's a short answer.
Okay.
I know that the shit parts of my life have even been a gift. Hindsight's a gift too, like being able to look back at those times that were just crappy and recognize how it shaped you and shaped the people around you and what it's taught you. It's the Earth School again.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
Good point. Ness, life is shit. What do you think?
Life is a gift. Life is not shit. However, we do encounter shit in life.
Right.
And you can't get around that. You have to deal with it at some point.
Yeah.
Um, but and like you guys have said, I'm sure there are people out there that are at the bottom of the barrel that
Yeah.
really believe their life is shit.
Yeah.
But I think all of us here on panel, and I'm sure many people in the chat can certainly say, you don't have to stay at the bottom of the barrel. You don't have to stay in the shit.
No.
You can pull yourself out of it. You can move
Yeah.
past it. You
Right.
can take a shower. You can do whatever you've got to do, but you don't have
Right.
to stay in the shit when it happens. You have to
Right.
deal with it. You got to deal with it.
Yeah.
But your whole life doesn't have to become shit.
Right. Good point. Now, I've been phrasing that the first words that he says in this video are "life is shit." Now, I've read the whole thing. He very much is doing this as tongue in cheek. The messages of all his videos, in my mind, he's trying to say, look, there are tough things in the world. This is my paraphrase of the few videos that we've added, that Glenn added here. Life is tough. Don't spend time worrying about that. Find something that brings you joy and focus on that. Regardless of what our struggles are, I think that's the point he's making. And I agree with that. I think it's important. And he ends it by saying, start living a good life today. So it's tongue in cheek. But I wanted to get people's impression of the first sentence, life is shit, but he says more than that. I just want to make that clear. Okay, this is the last one. It might be, I thought the other one was the shortest, but this is the shortest. Worry less. That's the last video, and then we'll finish up. Stop worrying. Your words are like the safety instructions that flight attendants give before takeoff. One day when you're about to die, you will not remember them, and they will not matter, so don't worry. I laughed at this one too, and then the first thought that popped in my head is, well, yeah, unless I'm dying on a plane. I mean, if I'm in a plane and the plane's going down, I'll hopefully I'll remember the safety instructions if there are any that might help me survive. But what he's saying overall, the part that I can get on board with for sure is to stop worrying. I mean, worrying doesn't add, as the scripture says, Jesus says, worrying doesn't add any another minute, another hour to your life. It doesn't make you taller. It doesn't make you richer. It doesn't make you anything. Worrying is, in my opinion, as much as people do it, and I've done it, it has never helped me. Worrying about it, it is a fruitless effort to worry. Scripture makes that clear. There's plenty of videos on YouTube about it. I don't want to worry. I don't want to spend time worrying. I want to focus on the good. I want to live in gratitude. When my time comes to die, I want people to say about me that I was kind and loving and funny and intelligent, and that I tried to make myself better, and I tried to pass that along to other people, and I reflected God's love for others. I prayed for those that persecuted me and people that didn't like me. I was graceful and understanding, and I didn't try to make anyone do anything. Those are just a couple things that I would want them to say. I don't want them to say, "Oh, he worried too much." It's a damn shame that he lived his life in worry. It's hard. I know that there are things in this life that make people worry, and I've been there. I get that. I'm not shaming anyone. I'm just saying that I have learned that it's not good. It doesn't lead anywhere good. What do you think, Jen? Stop worrying. Your words are like the safety instructions that flight attendants give before takeoff.
I think it would be really good for all of us to stop worrying.
Yeah.
Because it's either, I guess it is worrying about the past, could be worrying about the present and the future.
Sure.
But it really steals your joy, and it steals you being present in the moment and enjoying it to the full amount that we're meant to.
Yeah.
I think it's so interesting how the Bible talks a lot about not worrying, don't worry about tomorrow and sometimes I read that and I'm like, really, God?
Yeah.
How do I even do that?
Yeah.
It does take practice. I've noticed more and more that our thought life, it's, I think sometimes I've been in fairyland thinking something would just magically fix my thought life.
Right.
But it's like the gym. I mean, sometimes you get in your head and you're trying to rearrange crap, and you feel like you're just got out of the gym. You're sweaty and wore out and about to
Yeah.
keel over. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I don't think there is very much education on thought life. We talk about it a little bit at church.
Yeah.
In the scriptures that talk about thoughts, but
Yeah.
I just never knew about, social programming and family of origin programming and just the things. It's almost like a lot of times I grew up thinking that the thoughts that happen in my head were the truth,
Mm-hmm.
And I never stopped them to say, wait a minute, are you real? Or are you the truth or are you a lie?
Right. Right.
So here it comes to my 40s. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a thing you can do. Sweet. I started doing it. I was like, wow, this is great. I definitely did have to pray for the Holy Spirit to help me slow my thoughts down because my thoughts
Right.
are whizzing by like a million gajillion miles per hour. I
Yeah.
was like, all right, God, please help my thoughts slow down enough to where I can catch them and look at it and be like, is this true or is this false?
Right.
And then replacing it with something good. And it feels cheesy at first. You're like, okay, I feel like I'm reading affirmations off an index card,
Right.
but
Yeah.
no, it really does work.
Yeah.
It's very helpful.
Well, as someone that's been around you for a few years and watched your progress, it seems like you're doing a really good job, and it's good for anyone to come to the place where you're trying to worry less about things. Thank you, Jen. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Ness, stop worrying. What do you think?
We're not supposed to worry. Jesus tells us not to worry. But what we are supposed to do is to pray and to seek God. There's help to be had if you reach out for it.
Yeah.
Worrying doesn't do anything but detract from your emotional, mental, and physical health.
Right. I agree.
There's not one thing to be gained from it. And I think there's a difference between having concern. You can be concerned for someone without necessarily slipping into full-blown worry.
Right.
That's a great point.
Wow.
And I think being concerned, you can come forward out of that into more positive actions like prayer, like reaching out, communicating with whoever you're concerned about, or doing something positive to help them, whatever way that can be, instead of just wringing your hands, sitting in the dark under your rock, smoking cigarettes, and just being worried.
Right.
It doesn't help anybody.
No.
So take it from me. I've been under my rock, smoking cigarettes, being worried quite a bit. No more, I say.
No more. Don't worry. Thank you, Ness.
Yep.
Glenn, you're up last on this one. You get the benefit of having the last word on the worrying thing. What do you think?
I think that we have to recognize that some people have a personality that lends themselves to being a worrier.
Yeah.
I think that needs to be acknowledged, because it's like you can't just say stop worrying as a blanket statement. But what I would try to clarify here is, in that situation, there are things that you have no control over. If you can segregate those from the things that are relevant, I think that would cut your worry list down an awful lot.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
That's a good point.
And I want to put a question back to you guys, Crips and Jen. Okay, here's a really good one. You've had the issue that you brought up with Shannon. Is there any part of either of you that's been worried or concerned about what's going on in Shannon's mind and what she's thinking about you as a person because you said no?
Yes. A little bit.
I mean, in the moments that we were having to deal with this, yeah, sure.
Afterward, yes, a little bit for me. Because that's like a core fear of mine.
Okay, how are you dealing with that? Because I think that's important. Because for anyone here listening or want to make a comment, it's
Sure.
not. As you said, Jen, this takes practice. This is
Yeah,
not
it
easy.
does. No.
So
For
how are
me,
you doing? How are you working through this? Say thanks. I'll shut up.
yeah, the way that's thanks, Glenn. The way I'm working through it is, again, like you had just mentioned, thinking about what I have control over, and what I don't. I don't have
Right.
control over what Shannon thinks, or how she reacts to our no. I only have control over me. And so I've been walking through, okay, looking at what she needed from someone to watch the house and how our work schedule is this week. It just would have been bending over backward like a noodle and looping ourselves into knots, trying to make it work because of all the pets.
Yeah.
And based on our work schedule, I was like, this just isn't going to work. So then walking through just the fact that I have a right to say no.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I didn't even think about it and just thought, no, not at all. I really thought about it. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, is this possible? Can we do this?
Yeah.
And if Jason says no, am I willing to do it alone, and stay there by myself this week? And I just was like, you know what? I can't do this time.
Right.
And just made that decision for myself because it was tying my stomach up in knots because my programming is like, in order for me to keep Shannon around and keep her liking me, I have to say yes to everything.
Yeah.
And that's old stuff. And so I'm trying to think differently. Like, okay, if whether it's family or a friend or a stranger, like if I set a boundary for myself and say, no, I can't do that. If somebody gets upset and it hurts the friendship or the relationship in some way, that wasn't by my choice. That was their decision to react that way. And if someone is going to get upset and it's going to hurt the relationship because I said no, then that's not really a relationship that I can be in.
Wow.
Because I would love for all parties to be able to say no, even Shannon. Like, I know if I asked her to do something for us and she said no, I would respect it. And I'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then move on. I wouldn't judge her by that because she has her own life and a family and work. And, I'd like it to be open to where we can ask each other for things, but also be able to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Did I answer your question, Glenn?
I think it's a great answer. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's still tough though. It's still not a nice thought when this happens. It doesn't leave a taste in the mouth, that's for sure.
No, it's not comfortable.
No.
My answer is a little shorter in that I've had way more practice, at least with my family, than Jen has. And I have spent years at first, earlier in my life, as I've shared, I didn't want to be around my family. And I many times moved away for that very reason. And I kept coming back because of my own connection, my own negative connection to my family. And I kept feeling like I needed to prove that I'm not who I thought they thought I was. And when I stopped doing that, in many ways, that was the beginning of real growth for me. So yes, in the moment when I'm sitting across the table from her and she's making all these points, I was very angry. So that was the predominant feeling. But there's a small part that wants to do what I used to do. And it's like, well, wait a minute. What about this? What about that? What about when I did this? Come up with all these reasons and be defensive. And fortunately, I didn't do too much of that. But I wish that I hadn't done any of it. I wish that I hadn't even tried to defend myself at all. So it showed me that I still have some work to do. So I was more upset about watching Jen cringe and wring her hands about it than I was about my own feelings about it. It's more short-lived for me. It feels yucky. And that's okay. The whole thing felt yucky to me. But as far as her thinking about me, yes, in the moment for a little while and maybe a little bit after. But as Jen said so eloquently, I know that I have no control over what my family thinks about me. and I've already spent the time trying to change their opinion of me. And what I needed to do the whole time was change my opinion of myself. And that has been what I have had more time to focus on. And as I said earlier, I like myself. And have I arrived at some place where I don't have anything I need to work on? No, absolutely not. I'm constantly trying to improve and trying to work on the damage done in the past, both things I've done to myself and things I've allowed other people to do. I have definitely come to the conclusion that I'm responsible for my own feelings and thoughts. I am not responsible for anyone else's. And I'm glad that I have finally come to that conclusion. It has made life easier for me. Today it was uncomfortable, and it wasn't fun. But fortunately, it's short-lived for me. And lastly, having Jen with me in this process has been very helpful. We talk to each other, we're supportive of each other and encouraging, and we allow the feelings to come up and we discuss them, let them be what it is, and then hopefully we're able to move on and focus on other things, which is what we did. You know, we had the broadcast to do, and we spent some time together before the broadcast, and we talked and worked through it, and I could tell that both of us felt better having done that and moved on. And so now I don't feel anything from before. You know, I hope she found someone to do it, and she didn't tell us, you know, how she resolved it. And I'm not really interested to know. I mean, it's her. It was always her situation, and I wish she could have respected the no. And if she doesn't ask us to do it again, great. If she does ask us to do something again, then next time I'll know how to handle it better right from the get-go if it's something that I'm not interested in doing. So it was good. It's a learning process. And lastly, I hope for everyone listening, if you're in situations like this, I hope some of this was helpful. I hope you're able to focus on gratitude, regardless of what you're going through. You look for something that brings you joy and happiness in this life, and focus on that. And don't heap other people's BS on yourself. Let their own BS be theirs and yours be yours, and you decide how you deal with your own. Because that's all we have in the end, in my opinion, is you have to deal with your own stuff yourself. And hopefully everyone's able to do that at some point. Lastly, Glenn says, to close, I modified another of Singh's insights to my own version. Allow yourself to be sad when you are sad, but don't stop yourself being happy when you are happy. Good night. All right, great. Yeah, just a little different write-up tonight. We didn't have a whole list of questions. I hope I did it justice and tried to pull some things out for conversation. We did make it the whole way without too many moments of dead air. So that's good. I'm happy about that. I feel like it was a great conversation. Hopefully the people that stuck around in the chat the whole time, hopefully you guys got something out of that. Thank you for being a part of tonight's broadcast, and hope everyone has a good week, and we'll see you next Sunday. Have a good night, and thank you for being here. Jen, would you like to take a minute to say goodbye to the peoples?
Yeah, good night, peoples. Thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks for hanging with us with all the BS. Talking about the BS. Right. We hope you guys have a great week. You are always on our prayers, and we really, really appreciate you guys coming and being a part of the discussion. All right, see you next week.
Thank you. Debbie popped in earlier, and I think I forgot to say hello to Debbie. So hello and goodbye to Debbie, and appreciate you being here. She's usually always here, and we appreciate that so much. Thank you, Debbie. All right, let's hear from Glenn. Glenn, take a minute to say goodbye to the peoples. If you have any closing comments, please make them.
I shall say good night. Thank you for coming. And all this talk of BS has reminded me I need to go and clean the cat's litter box.
Wonderful.
Thanks. Good night.
You're welcome. Thank you, Glenn. Thanks for the write-up, and thanks for all your wonderful comments. Nez, if you would close us out, if you have any closing comments, please make them. Say goodbye to the peoples.
Thank you so much, Glenn. What a great write-up. And it really wasn't a bunch of BS. It was really good. I mean, we had what we took some BS that happened,
Yeah.
and we turned it into something good and positive. So even all the BS out there, there's potential for it to become something used for good.
Something beautiful.
To benefit.
Yeah.
That's right. You know, shit from roses come from shit, right? You know, flowers
Yeah.
grow in shit. Well, I think that happened tonight. So I'm sorry you guys had that happen with your sister/sister-in-law, but I think we all know what that was, and now you know better what to do next time you encounter her or someone like her with those kinds of questions and words. So,
Yeah.
It just, to me, it reminded me of some of my family as well. So I've been there. So I feel for you. All right. Well, thank you, everybody who came tonight. Thank you, everybody who was in the lurking lounge and didn't say anything in the chat. Even thank you to my troll with my imposter channel. Hey, thanks for stopping by and behaving yourself. So.
Yeah, really. Really. Wow.
I didn't want any BS from that, and I didn't get any, so that's good. I was
Wow,
very
yeah.
pleasantly surprised.
Me too.
Speaking of BS. So everybody keep a lookout for it next Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be back with another ripping good discussion right here on True Story Live. Thank you so much. Good night, and God bless.